The spaceship Aurora Wind landed gently on the rocky surface of Nyrax, a wild and untamed alien world. Dust rose in clouds as the ship's engines cooled down. The crew, a mix of humans and Nyraxians, stepped out into the strange landscape. Tall, purple trees stretched toward the green sky, and strange sounds echoed from the nearby hills. Tom, a young human in his mid-20s, stood at the edge of the ramp. He had dark hair, curious brown eyes, and a bag full of field gear on his back. His job was not to fight, but to observe and learn. Earth had just signed a peace agreement with the people of Nyrax, and Tom was part of the first peaceful exchange group. He looked around with wide eyes, trying to take in everything at once. The air was heavy, but breathable. The trees seemed to move, even without wind. Bright blue insects flew in circles, glowing like little stars. This place is amazing, Tom whispered to himself. A voice answered sharply. It is not amazing. It is dangerous. Tom turned to see Mira, his assigned Nyraxian guide. She was tall and slim, with greenish skin, large black eyes, and long silver hair tied in a braid. She wore dark armor with glowing lines and held a long metal staff. She did not smile. You must stay close to me, Mira continued. This planet does not forgive mistakes. Tom gave a small smile. Nice to meet you too. Mira sighed. Follow me. The others will go to the main base. We'll go to the eastern post. As they walked, Tom noticed how Mira walked with quiet confidence. She knew this land well. Every few steps, she checked the trees or listened to sounds. Tom tried to copy her, but kept stepping on noisy branches or slipping on moss. What are we looking out for? Tom asked. Everything, Mira replied coldly. But mostly, the Vorak? Tom raised an eyebrow. The what? Mira stopped walking. Her face turned serious. The Vorak is the most feared creature on Nyrax, she said slowly. It is large, has teeth that can crush stone. It can smell fear from across the valley. It does not run, it does not hide, it hunts. Tom blinked. Sounds friendly. Mira gave him a sharp look. This is not a joke. If you see one, you run. You do not talk, you do not move. If it sees you, you are already dead. Now more serious. Got it, no jokes. They continued walking, the path becoming steeper. Strange bird-like creatures watched them from above. A river flowed in the distance, glowing faintly blue. After 2 hours, they reached a small outpost built into the side of a hill. It was made of dark metal, half covered by vines. Mira opened the door with her handprint and led Tom inside. This is where we will stay, she said. You have your own room. Food is in the storage. Do not go outside at night. Tom placed his bag on a bunk bed and looked around. The room was small, but clean. A desk, a screen, a light, everything he needed. Mara turned to leave, but paused. Do not go into Garnockvale, she warned. That is where the Vorak lives. Tom frowned. Where is that? Myra pointed east, past the trees, beyond the hills. Even the air feels different there. No patrols go near. If you go, you won't return. She left without another word, leaving Tom alone in the quiet room. He sat down, pulled out his tablet, and began reading about Nyrax's wildlife. One file was locked. It had only one word on the cover, :VORAK. He tapped it, but access was denied. Tom sighed. Figures. That night, as the sun set behind the purple mountains, the air turned cold. From his window, Tom saw glowing eyes moving between trees in the distance. He couldn't tell what they were, but they weren't small. He lay on his bed, trying to sleep, but Mira's words echoed in his head. It hunts. The next morning, Tom woke early. Mira was already outside checking some sensor devices. He joined her quietly. Sleep well? She asked without looking at him. Not really, Tom replied. Are those motion sensors? Yes, they warn us if something comes close. Tom bent to look at one of them. Do they pick up the Vorak? Mira looked at him slowly.
No.
The Vorak walks where it pleases. Machines do not stop it. Only luck. Tom stared into the forest beyond. Something about the idea of this powerful creature made his heart beat faster, not with fear, but curiosity. "Why haven't your people tried to study it?" he asked. "We have. Those people are gone," she replied sharply. Tom didn't speak. Again, later that day, Tom walked near the edge of the outpost to study a glowing plant. He took careful notes. A small furry creature with 6 legs and wide eyes came near, watching him. Tom smiled and tossed it a berry from his pack. It sniffed it, then took it and ran off. Myra watched from a distance. She said nothing, but narrowed her eyes. That night, Tom sat by the window again. In the far distance, just beyond the trees of Garnock Vale, he saw a large shadow move, a shape bigger than any living thing he had ever seen. He held his breath. It paused, looked toward the outpost, and slowly walked back into the forest. Tom whispered, "Was that ... the Vorak?" He didn't know yet, but he was sure of one thing. He wanted to see it again. The early morning light turned the sky a soft green as Tom stepped outside the outpost. Cool air touched his face. The strange planet of Nyrax felt calm for now, but the thick forest beyond still held mystery. Tom carried a scanner in his notebook. He wasn't planning to go far, just close enough to collect data on a glowing blue flower he had seen from the window the night before. As he knelt to take a sample, Mira heard light footsteps behind him. Mira stood with her arms crossed. "I told you not to wander without me." Tom looked up, not startled, but slightly embarrassed. "I didn't go far, just wanted to take a quick look." Mira stepped forward. "There is no such thing as safe distance here. One more step, and you would be in the shadow zone." Tom blinked. "Shadow zone? It's what we call the edge of Garnock Vale," she said, her voice sharp. "Even the ground changes there. Plants go quiet. Insects vanish. It is like the forest is holding its breath." Tom stood slowly. "Is it really that bad?" Mira stared at him. "Yes, that's where the Vorak lives." He nodded, his curiosity growing. "What does it look like?" "No one alive has seen it closely and lived to tell," she said. "The only stories come from half-broken records, blood, and silence." Tom looked toward the trees. "Maybe it's just misunderstood." Mira frowned. "Misunderstood? You think the Vorak is just lonely?" "No," Tom said calmly. "But I believe everything reacts to something. No creature attacks without reason. Maybe there's a pattern, reason why it acts the way it does." Mira didn't answer. She simply turned and walked back, toward the outpost. Tom followed quietly, but the idea kept spinning in his mind. Why did the Vorak live in Garnock Vale? Why didn't it leave? Why did people fear it so much? That evening, as Mira worked on equipment, inside, Tom sat at the edge of the outpost fence and stared at the horizon. The glowing blue flowers, the thick air, and the sounds of strange birds all felt alive, yet beneath it all, something deeper seemed to wait in silence. Suddenly, a small whimper caught his attention. He turned and saw a small creature limping. Near the outer sensor line, it had soft fur, large ears, and one leg bleeding. It looked around, scared and weak. Tom's heart softened. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly. He slowly approached, kneeling to show he wasn't a threat. The creature backed away at first, but stopped when it saw Tom toss a dried fruit toward it. It sniffed the fruit, then carefully ate it. Tom examined the injured leg. A thorn was stuck deep. Gently pulled it out, cleaning the wound with water. From his pack, the creature let out a soft sound, half trust, half pain. After a few minutes, it limped back toward the forest. Tom watched it disappear into the trees. But something caught his eye. The creature hadn't come from the open woods. It had come from Garnock Vale. A chill passed through him. What was it doing in there? He whispered. The air near the vale felt thicker now, like something was watching. But Tom didn't move. He stared into the trees, trying to see past the shadows. Then just for a second he saw movement. A large shape, silent as fog, stepped between two trees and vanished, his breath caught in his throat. He didn't see a clear form. It's just the size. Huge, slow. Watching Tom returned inside, thoughtful but not afraid. He found Mira checking maps on the wall. "Mira," he said. "A creature came out of Garnock Vale just now. Small. Hurt. I helped it." Mira's head snapped up. "What kind of creature?" "I don't know the name. It had soft fur and 6 legs. Big ears." Mira's eyes narrowed. "Those creatures never go near Garnock Vale. Never. If one came from there, something is very wrong." Tom thought of the movement he saw in the trees. "I think I saw something too." Mira's tone became sharp. "Did you go inside?" Tom said quickly, "I didn't cross the line." Mira looked at him for a long moment, then sighed. "That area is cursed. Every few years someone thinks they can study it. They don't come back. Don't make that mistake." Tom nodded. I won't." But deep inside, he wasn't sure if he meant it. The next day, a patrol team arrived to deliver supplies. One of them, a Nyrax male named Dren, brought news of an outpost near the Vale losing contact. They were tracking wild movement near the eastern cliff, Dren explained. Then silence. Mira and Tom listened as the commander on the screen gave orders. "No rescue mission. Assume loss. Do not approach Garnock Vale." Tom's hands tightened. "No one's going to look for them." Dren shrugged. "There's nothing to find. Once the Vale takes someone, they're gone." After the patrol left, Tom sat on the roof. Of the outpost that evening, sky was painted in soft green and purple light. He stared at the trees of Garnock Vale again, silent and still. "I don't believe something is just evil by nature," he whispered to himself. "There's always a reason." Mira climbed up and sat beside him, not saying anything for a while. Finally she said, "You remind me of my brother." Tom looked at her, surprised. "He was curious like you," she continued. "Could understand the wild. Thought if he'd just listened harder, watched longer, the forest would answer back." "What happened?" Tom asked gently. "He entered the Vale," Myra said quietly. "He never came out." Silence fell between them. Only the wind and the soft chirping of night insects filled the air. "Sorry," Tom said after a moment. Mira gave a small nod. "Curiosity is good, but not when it becomes pride." Tom looked at her, then back at the trees. "I'm not doing this to prove anything," he said. I think there's more to the story." Myra didn't answer, but her eyes stayed on the forest long after Tom went inside, and in the shadows of Garnock Vale, something very large moved once, again watching. Waiting. The morning fog hung low over the forest. The trees of Nyrax looked like tall shadows wrapped in mist. Tom stood near the fence of the outpost, holding his scanner and notebook. He had been thinking all night. He couldn't stop wondering about the creature he had seen near Garnock Vale, that large, silent shadow moving between trees. He looked around. No one was awake yet. Even Mira had not stepped out. Tom checked his watch and took a deep breath. "I won't go far," he whispered. To himself, he crossed the outer line of the outpost. Moving slowly toward the edge of Garnock Vale, the forest floor was soft and wet. Strange flowers opened as he passed, releasing tiny blue lights that floated in the air like fireflies. The deeper he went, the quieter the world became. No bird sounds. No wind. Just silence. Tom's heart beat faster, but he kept going. He stopped. Near a tree, with thick roots, and waited. His eyes scanned the area. Then he saw it. A shape, large, dark, moving slowly between two trees. His breath caught in his throat. He didn't move. The creature stepped into view. It was a juvenile Vorachnot, fully grown, but already taller than Tom. Its body was covered in thick, dark fur. Its front legs were longer than the back ones. Its glowing blue eyes locked onto him. Tom stood still. The Vorak didn't attack. It tilted its head. Tom slowly knelt down, lowering his body to show he wasn't a threat. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a dried fruit, placing it on the ground in front of him. The Vorak sniffed. He aired out one step, then another. It moved closer. Tom didn't breathe. He just watched. The Vorak stepped forward and sniffed the fruit. It didn't eat it. Instead, it looked at Tom again, and then with a quiet grunt, it turned and disappeared into the trees. Tom stayed frozen for a full minute before slowly standing. His hands were shaking. He had just come face to face with the most feared predator on the planet, and it had let him live. Back at the outpost, Mira stood near the sensor screen. Red light blinked. Motion detected north perimeter, she read. Out loud, her eyes narrowed. She stepped outside and looked around. That's when she saw Tom walking back from the forest. She ran to him. "What were you doing?" she shouted. "I told you never to enter Garnock Vale." Tom raised his hands. "I didn't go deep. Just the edge." "I saw it, Mira." Mira's eyes widened. "Saw what?" The Vorak. Mira grabbed his arm. "You're lucky to be alive." Tom shook his head. "It didn't attack me. It looked at me. And then left." Mira stared at him in disbelief. "You're saying the Vorak let you go?" Tom nodded. "It even smelled the fruit I gave it. Maybe it wasn't hungry. Or maybe it didn't feel threatened." Mira stepped back. "This is not something to test again, Tom. The Vorak is a killer." Tom didn't argue. But deep inside, he knew what he saw. There was more to the creature. That night, Tom reviewed his scanner data. The creature's heat signature matched the known patterns of a Vorak. He recorded the time, the behavior, and every detail he could remember. He looked at the fruit the Vorak didn't eat. "Maybe next time you'll take it," he said softly. From her room, Mira watched him. She didn't understand what was happening, but something inside her felt uneasy. The next day, Tom returned to the same spot. This time he placed 2 fruits on the ground and sat far away. Didn't move. He didn't make a sound. Hours passed. Nothing happened then. Just before sunset, the trees shifted. The young Vorak appeared again. It moved with care, watching everything. It walked to the fruit, sniffed both pieces, and ate one. Tom smiled slowly. The Vorak looked at him again, then turned and left. No growl. No attack, just silent trust. On the 3rd day, Tom brought a small water pouch and another fruit. This time, the Vorak didn't wait as long. It came while the sun was still high. It approached, drank the water, and sat down for a moment before walking off again. Tom didn't try to touch it. He only observed. He started calling it Shadow Clawby because of its black fur and the sharp claws that barely made a sound on the ground. Back at the outpost, Mira noticed a change in Tom. He was quieter, more focused. He didn't talk about the Vorak again, but he checked the scanners often. He marked spots on maps and tracked the creature's movements. Finally, after several days, Mira followed him without telling him. She stayed hidden in the trees, using her training to move without sound, and then she saw it. Tom was kneeling again. A massive shadow approached him from the trees. Mira almost shouted but stopped. It was Shadowclaw, and it was sitting near Tom like a giant. Wild pet. Tom was talking softly, not touching, just sitting close. The creature seemed relaxed. Mira's eyes widened. She had never seen anything like it. How is this possible? She thought. The Vorak, this legendary beast feared by every living thing on Naraxo's, calmly eating from Tom's hand. She returned to the outpost before Tom noticed her. Her heart beat fast. Her mind was full of questions. Later that night, Mira waited for Tom inside the outpost when he walked in. She stood up. "I followed you today," she said. Tom froze. "I saw it," she continued. "I saw the Vorak. I saw how it behaved with you." Tom stayed silent for a moment. Then he said quietly, "I call him Shadowclaw." Mira's voice was firm. "You don't understand what you've done. I'm not controlling him," Tom said. "I'm earning his trust." Mira stepped closer. "Tom, this changes everything." He looked into her eyes. "Maybe it does." Outside, in the silent woods, Shadowclaw walked alone under the twin moons of Nyrax. For the first time in the history of the planet, a human and a Vorak had shared peace, and that peace had just begun to grow into something greater. The days passed quietly, but something powerful was growing in the hidden woods of Nyrax. Each morning, Tom walked toward the edge of Garnock Vale, always careful, always respectful. He carried small supplies, water, fruit, and sometimes a soft piece of cloth for sitting on the damp ground. And every time Shadowclaw came, the young Vorak now moved more freely around Tom. It no longer stayed hidden. It no longer waited in silence. Some days it sat down, other days it circled slowly, as if guarding him. Tom never forced anything. He only observed, spoke softly, and gave food, and slowly. A bond began to form. Back at the outpost, Myra was no longer angry. She was confused. She kept watching Tom from a distance. She saw how his routine changed, how his steps grew lighter. He smiled more, not out of pride, but something else. Something deeper. One evening, she asked him directly, "Why are you doing this?" Tom looked up from his notebook. "'Cause I think this creature doesn't want to hurt anyone. I think it's protecting something." Myra crossed her arms. "Or maybe it's just not hungry yet." Tom smiled. "Then I've been very lucky for several days in a row." Myra didn't reply, but she didn't stop him either. One morning, after a night of rain, Tom entered the forest with his usual supplies. The air smelled fresh, and the trees dripped with water. Shadowclaw arrived earlier than expected. It was wet, its thick fur soaked and heavy. The beast looked tired. Tom opened a thermal blanket from his bag and placed it near a tree. To his surprise, Shadowclaw slowly lay down beside it. Not on it, but close enough to feel its warmth. "You're smarter than most people think, Tom," whispered Shadowclaw. Gave a soft growl, not angry. Just acknowledging his voice, Tom took out a small audio recorder and quietly noted the sound. Day 12, Shadowclaw responded to voice. No signs of aggression. Body movements relaxed, breathing steady. "We are making progress." He placed the recorder down and sat cross-legged, careful not to get too close. He pulled out a sketch pad and began drawing the creature. As he sketched, Shadowclaw stood and walked around him once, its long tail brushing the ground. Tom froze. The beast's giant clawed paw stopped beside him. Then it moved on. Tom let out a slow breath. Okay, that was close. Later that day, back at the outpost, Mira was fixing a broken signal panel. Sparks flew from the tools, and the screen flashed red. Tom entered quietly. "Need help?" "I've got it," she said, twisting a metal piece back into place. He waited a moment. "I think I'm starting to understand him." Mira stopped. "Working him, Shadowclaw. I think it's a male. Young, maybe not even fully grown. Still learning, still watching." Mira looked at him. "You're giving a name to a monster, Tom?" Tom shook his head. "Not a monster. Just misunderstood." Mira sighed and stood up. "You think you can change thousands of years of fear?" "Maybe not," he said, "but maybe I can start." Next day, Mira followed him openly. "No more hiding. I want to see it again," she said. Tom nodded. "Just stay quiet. Move slowly. He doesn't like sudden motion." They reached the usual clearing. Tom placed down fruit and water. Then they waited. It took longer this time. The forest was too quiet. The air felt heavy. Suddenly, Shadowclaw appeared not from the front, but from behind them. Mira turned too fast. The creature stopped, growled low, and took a step back. Tom quickly raised his hands. "It's okay," he said gently. "We're not a threat." Myra didn't speak. She held still. Shadowclaw stared at her. His glowing blue eyes locked onto hers. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, Shadowclaw stepped forward. Closer to Tom, he sniffed the air, then walked toward the fruit, still watching Mira carefully. Tom whispered, "He's checking if you're safe." Mira nodded slightly. She remained still. Shadowclaw finished eating and walked away again, disappearing into the woods. Mira exhaled slowly. That was real. Tom smiled. "Now, do you believe me?" Myra didn't answer right away. Then she said, "I don't know what I believe anymore." That night, a storm rolled over the mountains. Thunder crashed and wind howled. The outpost shook under the force of nature. Tom couldn't sleep. He worried about Shadowclaw. Was he safe? Did he have shelter? Before dawn, Tom wrapped himself in a rainproof cloak and stepped outside. Mira stopped him at the door. "You're going out in this storm?" Tom nodded. "I need to check on him." Mira stared at him. "This is not Earth. Creatures don't need help like yours do." "Maybe," Tom said, "but I do." She let him go. In the forest, the rain fell hard. Trees bent with the wind. Tom walked slowly, holding a light. Water splashed around his boots. He reached the clearing and saw Shadowclaw. The creature was huddled beneath a fallen tree, shivering slightly. Its eyes looked dull. Tom stepped closer. "Hey, it's okay. I'm here." He placed the thermal blanket near the tree and poured warm water into a bowl from his pack. Shadowclaw didn't move at first, then slowly stretched his neck toward the bowl. He drank. Tom sat beside the tree, not touching, just waiting, for the first time. Shadowclaw didn't leave after eating. He stayed. When Tom returned to the outpost, soaked and tired, Mira met him at the door. "You're crazy," she said, handing him a towel. Tom gave a tired smile. He was cold. Mira watched him dry his hair. "Tom, I've seen hunters with no fear, scientists with no care, soldiers with no heart, but I've never seen anyone do what you're doing." Tom sat down. "I'm not special. I'm just listening." She paused. If others knew, they wouldn't believe it. Tom looked up. Maybe it's time they saw it for themselves. From that day on, Mira began helping. She brought tools, samples, and recording gear. Together, they watched Shadowclaw from a distance. Slowly, she too saw what Tom had signed: calmness, understanding, intelligence. The bond was no longer just between a human and a beast. It was growing into something more, a bridge between two worlds. The bond between Tom and Shadowclaw continued to grow stronger. Every day, Tom visited the young Vorak with food, clean water, and gentle words. Mira, who once doubted him, now helped collect data, keeping careful notes on Shadowclaw's behavior. Together, they began recording short clips, documenting each peaceful interaction. They spoke softly around the creature, kept their movements slow, and always respected its space. In the wild, this kind of trust had never happened before. Not between a human and a Vorak, but far from their quiet clearing, things were changing. 3 days later, a warning signal flashed on the outpost's main screen. Mira rushed to the console and pressed a button. A hologram of Captain Roan, a senior Nyrax officer, appeared. "Outpost 17 has been destroyed," the captain said. His voice was cold and flat. Survivors say it was a full-grown Vorak, too. "Scouts are missing. 3 are injured." Myra's eyes widened. "Where did this happen?" Roan's eyes narrowed. "Just west of Garnock Vale, close to your sector." Tom stepped forward. "Did anyone see it clearly?" Roan nodded. "Yes, they described large claws, black fur, glowing blue eyes." Tom's heart sank. "But that sounds like Shadowclaw." "No," Mira said quickly. "Shadowclaw is young, smaller, not full-grown." Roan continued. "The council has given the order. All Voraks in the region are to be tracked and eliminated." Tom's stomach tightened. "Eliminated?" Roan's voice turned firm. "Cannot risk more lives. The Vorak is a threat. No exceptions." The hologram faded. Tom turned to Mira. "They're going to kill him." Mira nodded slowly. "They won't ask which one it is. They'll see the size, the claws, the eyes, and they'll shoot." Tom looked toward the forest. "I have to protect him." The next morning, Tom woke up early. The wind was strong and the forest seemed tense. Even the trees stood unusually. Still, birds didn't sing. The air was thick. Tom packed fruit and water. He placed a small tracker beacon in his pocket. It would help Mira know his location. As he walked into the trees, he kept thinking, how can I stop them from hurting him? What proof do I have? When he reached the clearing, Shadowclaw wasn't there. Tom waited. An hour passed, and 2. Finally, the bushes moved. Shadowclaw stepped out slowly, his head low. His fur was dirty, and there was a small cut on his leg. Tom rushed forward. "You're hurt." Shadowclaw looked tired. He limped slightly and growled softly, not in anger, but pain. Tom knelt beside him, placing water on the ground and tearing a piece of cloth from his own shirt to clean the wound. "I won't let them get you," Tom whispered. "I promise." Shadowclaw sniffed his hand and sat down heavily, like he trusted him completely. Back at the outpost, Mira was tracking motion scanners. Several red dots blinked on the western side of the map. She clicked the screen. "Up. Unit 12, Armed Patrol Mission. Hunt and eliminate target. Vorak Mira." S. heart raced. "They're getting close." She pressed the communicator. "Tom, do you hear me? You need to come back now?" Tom's voice crackled through. "Shadowclaw is injured. He's not moving well," Myra replied quickly. "Armed patrol is heading your way. Full weapons. They see you with the Vorak, they'll shoot both of you." Tom looked at Shadowclaw. The beast's eyes were half closed. "He wouldn't be able to run far." Tom responded, "I have an idea. I'll buy time. Just keep them from shooting." Tom searched his bag and pulled out a glowing orange flare, a signal tool used in emergencies. He climbed a nearby ridge and fired the flare into the sky. The light burst like a small sun, flashing high above the trees. Back at the patrol unit, the soldiers saw the signal. One of them pointed. "There. Emergency flare. Someone's alive." They turned toward it at once. Mira, watching through her console, activated the outpost speaker. "All units stop. The flare is from a peaceful contact zone.
Ow.
Do not fire unless provoked." The soldiers paused but continued forward. Tom returned to Shadowclaw and placed his hands on the creature's thick fur. "We'll hide here. Just stay quiet." He helped Shadowclaw crawl behind a fallen log covered in vines. Then he stepped out into the open, raising his hands as he heard the patrol coming closer. Seconds later, 6 soldiers arrived, weapons raised. "Identify yourself." One shouted. Tom kept his hands up. "Tom Carter, Peace Team," unarmed. "What are you doing here?" Tom took a breath, observing, studying, and protecting. "Where's the creature?" another asked, scanning the area. Tom answered, "He's not a threat." The leader frowned. "You don't give orders." "Human, we have permission to shoot on sight." At that moment, Mira's voice echoed through the patrol's radios. "Stand down. That creature is under special observation. Do not engage." The patrol hesitated. Tom stepped forward. "Give me one chance to prove he's not dangerous. One chance." The leader lowered his gun slightly. "You have 5 minutes." Tom walked to the hidden log. He knelt beside Shadowclaw and whispered, "I need your help now. Just stay calm. Show him who you are." Shadowclaw slowly stood. He limped into the open space, eyes glowing, fur shining under the sun. The soldiers all raised their weapons in panic, but the Vorak didn't growl, didn't charge. He sat beside Tom, calm as a mountain. Tom placed his hand gently on Shadowclaw's shoulder. "See?" he said softly. "He trusts me." The patrol leader lowered his weapon. The others followed. One of them whispered, I've never seen anything like that." Mira arrived moments later, breathing hard. She had run from the outpost to the clearing. She looked at the Vorak, then at Tom. "You did it." Tom nodded. "He's not a monster." That night, news of the peaceful Vorak spread quickly. The patrol sent video footage to the council. Scientists and leaders across Nyrax began to talk about what they saw. Some didn't believe it. Others were amazed. But one thing was clear. This was the first time in history that a human had stood beside a Vorak without fear, without blood, and without war. The council called for a meeting. Tom and Mira would have to speak before them, and the future of ShadowClan, all Voraks now, rested in their hands. The meeting hall of the Nyrax Council stood like a tower of crystal in the heart of the capital. Light shone through the glass walls, casting long shadows across the silver floor. It was a place where serious decisions were made, and now, one decision could change everything. Tom and Myra stood before a half-circle of high-ranking leaders, both human and Nyraxian. In the center sat Elder Jonah, an ancient and wise Nyrax, who had led the council for over 100 years. His eyes were calm but sharp. We have seen the video footage, Elder Jonah said. A Vorak, sitting beside a human without attacking. This is new. One of the Nyrax generals stepped forward. Even if it is true, it could be a trick. The creature might be waiting for the right moment to strike. Tom stepped closer. Shadowclaw is not a wild killer. I've been with him for days. He understands peace. He trusts me. Another council member, a human named Dr. Merrill, leaned forward. Trust is not enough. We need proof. The people are afraid, and fear spreads fast. Elder Jonah looked at Tom. Would you agree to a live test? Tom's heart beat faster. What kind of test? You and the creature, Jonah said. A controlled area, with council watchers and scientists.
Yes.
No weapons. No cages. If you can command the Vorak, calm it, and stop it from reacting under pressure, we will believe. Mira looked at Tom with concern. That's risky. What if something goes wrong? Tom nodded slowly. If this is the only way to protect him, I'll do it. The next day, they arrived at the Peace Dome, a large glass-covered arena outside the capital. Inside, the space looked like a natural forestries, rocks, soft ground, and even a small stream. It was built to test wild creatures in a safe, controlled way. Shadowclaw had already been transported there in a special cage. He growled softly, confused and nervous. His blue eyes searched for something familiar. When Tom entered the dome, Shadowclaw's growl stopped. Tom ran to the cage, placing a hand on the metal bars. It's okay. I'm here. The gate slowly opened. The creature stepped out cautiously, muscles tense. From above, behind a glass wall, council members watched. Drones hovered, ready to record everything. Voice echoed from the speaker system. The test will now begin. Tom stood in the middle of the dome. Shadowclaw paced in a circle around him. He sniffed the air, growled at the hovering drones, then looked at Tom. Tom spoke calmly. Shadowclaw. Sit. At first, the Vorak didn't move. Then slowly, he lowered his body to the ground. The council members leaned forward. A scientist whispered, That's obedience. Suddenly, loud bangs echoed across the dome. It was part of the test designed. To check the creature's reaction to stress, Shadowclaw jumped to his feet, growling. His fur stood up. His eyes glowed brighter. Tom raised both hands. It's just noise. You're okay, Shadowclaw looked at him, breathing hard, tail twitching. Tom took one step forward. You're safe, I'm here. Yeah. The Vorak let out a soft rumble, then sat down again. The room above the dome fell silent. Next, 2 robotic dummies shaped like soldiers entered from the sides. Their purpose was to mimic possible threats. Shadowclaw immediately stood up, growling. Tom ran between them. No, they're not real. Calm. He looked straight into the creature's eyes. I trust you. Do you trust me? Growling, his head lowered. He turned and walked toward Tom. Sitting beside him above, council members whispered among themselves. Dr. Merrill stood up. That's impossible. This behavior, this bond is real. Elder Jonah nodded. I believe we are not looking at a wild animal anymore. We are looking at a bridge between 2 worlds. After the test ended, Tom sat beside Shadowclaw, both of them quiet. The dome doors opened and Mira rushed in. You did it, she said, her voice shaking. Tom smiled. He did it. I just believed in him. Mira placed a hand on Shadowclaw's thick fur. The beast allowed it, breathing calmly. For the first time, more than one person had touched a Vorak and lived. Not just lived, but connected. Later that day, the council called for a press announcement. Citizens of Nyrax and Earth watched from their homes and cities. On every screen, the image of Shadowclaw beside Tom was shown. It's peaceful, calm. Alive. Elder Jonah's voice rang out across the galaxy. Today we have seen something new. Human and Avoraquants, enemies, now walk side by side. The creature we feared may hold the key to a deeper understanding of this planet. We must not hunt it. We must learn from it. Back at the outpost, Tom and Mira returned with Shadowclaw. No longer secret, the council allowed a new plan, a protected research program where Shadowclaw would be observed. Not as a beast, but as a partner. Scientists and guards set up nearby. But no one touched the Vorak unless Tom was present. Shadowclaw, now trusted Tomand, slowly began to accept Mira. One morning, while Mira offered water, Shadowclaw lowered his head and gently pressed it against her shoulder. Mira laughed softly. "I think he likes me now." Tom smiled. "Told you. He's not so scary after all." As the sun set over Garnock Vale, the forest seemed more peaceful than ever before. No longer just a place of fear, it had become the heart of a new beginning. Tom sat beside Shadowclaw on a ridge overlooking the valley. "I wonder if more of your kind can be like you," he said quietly. Shadowclaw looked at him, then at the horizon. Tom continued, "Maybe this is just the start." And deep inside, he knew it truly was. The forests of Nyrax were no longer silent with fear. News of Tom and Shadowclaw had spread across the planet. What once was a terrifying story of the Vorak, the most feared predator, had now become a message of hope. At the outpost, scientists, researchers, and even a few reporters had started arriving. All of them came not to hunt the creature, but to learn. Still, most stayed behind the fences. Only a few dared to get close, always with Tom by their side. One bright morning, Tom stood near a shaded tree, waiting. As usual, Shadowclaw appeared. From the forest, his walk was calm. His eyes glowed blue, but were soft, not wild. Tom smiled and knelt. "Morning, buddy. We've got visitors today." Behind him, Mira approached with a small group of young trainees. They were part of the first group in a new peace program called Wild Understanding. Each trainee wore a yellow jacket and carried a scanner. Some looked excited, others nervous. One of the boys whispered, "Is that the real Vorak?" Mira nodded. "Yes, his name is Shadowclaw. But stay quiet and move slowly." Tom waved them over. "Come closer, but let him come to you. Don't reach out first." The group moved slowly. Shadowclaw sniffed the air, then walked past them without fear. One of the girls giggled. "He's huge but kind of cute, too." Tom chuckled. "Don't say that too loud. He might get embarrassed." Mira smiled. "You've really changed how we see him, Tom." He nodded. "And he's changed me." Later that day, while the group returned to the outpost, a special visitor arrived. General Kira, same military officer who once voted to eliminate all Voraks, landed her small transport ship near the outer wall. She stepped out wearing black armor, her face serious. Mira tensed. "What's she doing here?" Tom walked forward to greet her. "General, welcome." Kira looked around. "So, this is where you made history." Tom gestured toward the forest. "Shadowclaw is nearby. You're welcome to meet him." Kira raised an eyebrow. "Without weapons?" Tom nodded. "You won't need them." After a long pause, the general handed her weapon to her guard and followed Tom into the forest. They reached the clearing. Shadowclaw stepped out from behind a tree, eyes locked onto Kira's face. The general stood tall, trying not to show fear. Tom spoke softly. "This is General Kira. She came to meet you." Shadowclaw sniffed the air, and to everyone's surprise, he walked toward Kira, stopped, and bowed his head slightly. The general's eyes widened. Is he greeting me?" Tom smiled. "Looks like it." Kira slowly reached out, her hand shaking. She touched his shoulder. Shadowclaw didn't move. The general stepped back, her face full of wonder. "I was wrong about him," Tom replied. "Many were. But it's never too late to see the truth." Later, in a meeting with the council, General Kira made a new speech. "I have seen the Vorak with my own eyes," she said. "I touched it. I stood beside it, and I lived. It is no longer correct to call it a monster. It is a living being capable of peace." This speech was broadcast across the system. Reactions were strong. Many celebrated. Some still doubted. But more and more people began to believe that the bond between human and beast was possible. Meanwhile, back at the outpost, Shadowclaw had begun exploring further without fear. He no longer stayed only in the forest. He sometimes walked to the edge of the outpost's outer fence, watching the new visitors curiously. One day, while Tom was fixing a solar panel, a small child ran past the gate. "Wait, don't go there," Myra shouted. But before anyone could stop him, the boy ran straight toward the trees. Shadowclaw stepped out, blocking the path. Everyone froze. The boy stopped and looked up at the giant creature. Shadowclaw stared at him, and slowly he sat down. The boy smiled. "You're not scary." Shadowclaw tilted his head. Tom arrived seconds later, breathless. "Are you okay?" The boy nodded. "He just looked at me." Tom knelt and gently led the child back. "You were lucky." "Right. Always stay inside the safe zone," Mira added, "but it's amazing. Even a child. He didn't feel fear." That evening, Tom and Mira sat near the edge of the forest, watching the sunset. The sky was painted with orange and blue. Shadowclaw lay beside them, his head resting on his paws. Mira turned to Tom. "Do you think this will last?" Tom looked up at the sky. "I think it's only the beginning," Myra asked. "What if other Voreks aren't like him?" Tom replied. "That's why we need to try. Maybe Shadowclaw is the first, but not the last." She smiled. "You really believe in peace?" Tom looked at Shadowclaw. "He gave me hope, and now I want to share it with the world." Weeks later, the council announced a new program, the Vorak Understanding Project. Its goal was simple: to search for other Voraks and study them, not hunt them. To find more creatures like Shadowclaw and build trust, step by step. Tom was named head of the program. Mira was appointed his second in command. Shadowclaw. He became the symbol of change. In one of the final broadcasts of the season, a reporter asked Tom, "Did you ever imagine this would happen when you first came to Nyrax?" Tom laughed softly. "No. I came to study plants, not make history." The reporter smiled. "What's your message to the people watching?" Tom looked into the camera. "Fear is easy, but understanding takes courage. Shadowclaw showed me that even the most feared creature can be gentle if we just take time to listen. So I ask everyone, be brave enough to understand. You never know what kind of friendship is waiting." Back in the forest, under the stars, Shadowclaw sat alone for a moment. Then, from the distance, another low growl echoed through the trees. Shadowclaw stood up, and for the first time, didn't growl back. He listened.